Under the shadow of defeat to the BC Socialist NDP leader John Horgan, the former BC Liberal leader Andrew Wilkinson resigned February of this year. That meant a new race will be on the way to determine who the next leader is, and some new blood is saying that they might just participate in that race. Aaron Gunn, a journalist who's been heavy on the scene in social media and has had lots of support, says he may partake in this race, and the left is going mad because of it. Today, I sit down and ask Aaron some really interesting questions. Take a look. All right, Aaron, as I'm sure you're aware, you are making some headlines, especially since you've announced a new shift may be happening. You've recently announced that you may be running for the leadership race of the BC Liberals. So let's take it back just a little bit. Why did you become interested in politics?
Why did I become interested in politics? Well, I know I think I was always interested, but I became very passionate when I just saw the state of the city that I grew up in, Victoria, the province, and our country. To me, it's kind of sleepwalking off of a cliff, and I think it needs to be, shaken awake. And all these important issues that are happening, whether it's the taxes, whether it's the impediments to the development of our resources, to this suffocating level of political correctness, has just kind of fired me up to get involved. And I've just been involved ever since.
And involved you have been, like, in a wide variety of ways. Anything from the energy sector to how people should be punished if they are child killers and things like that. So how have people responded to some of the things you've said or voiced your opinions about?
Well, I think in a lot of cases, there's people that feel that I'm giving them a voice because I'm speaking out on issues that no one else will. I'm offering perspectives that nobody else will. And, I'm not one of these traditional politicians that's speaking from talking points written by a bunch of high-paid communication consultants. Everything that I say is from the heart, and it's issues and principles that I believe in. And so I think that does resonate with people. And obviously, I've had a lot of success doing that.
Success you've had. If people take a look at your Facebook following right now, they'd see that it has a much bigger following than, for example, our own premier, John Horgan's page has right now. What is your political philosophy, though? Like, what would you call yourself?
So I don't like labels of any kind because I feel like when you get a label applied to you, it puts you in like a little box and everyone assumes you have positions on a certain subset of issues. But I am leaning towards a small c conservative. But first and foremost, I believe in common sense and respect for taxpayers. And those are two things that I think have been missing in public policy at every level of government across this country.
You guys, YouTube is trying to get rid of us. They've deplatformed us, and we know we're going to be taken off any second. You have to go to rebelnews.com. We need your phone number or your email so that we keep in touch.
So here's a question I'm going to ask because I'm fairly new to politics, and I'm sure someone out there is watching this video and struggling just as much as I did when I first came across this. Can you please explain the madness? Because when people here in British Columbia hear the party name BC Liberals, sometimes they associate that party with the federal Liberals. And for that reason alone, I know some people who consider themselves to be conservatives, but haven't voted for the BC Liberals. Can you please explain what people need to know in that area?
Yeah, I mean, historically in British Columbia, going back to the 1950s, there's been the NDP and kind of a coalition anti-NDP party. That used to be the Social Credit up until the 1990s. Since then, it's been the BC Liberal Party, which is a confusing name for an alliance of liberals and conservatives. For the most part, though, 3/4 of the voters who vote for the provincial Liberal Party vote federally conservative. So it is actually primarily a conservative party. Now, have they always lived up to that reputation and delivered to their voters? I don't think so. They've done a lot of good things, but they've done some things that I disagree with as well. So it is the main anti-NDP alternative in this province. But I think it's time to inject it with new ideas and rebrand it and change the name as well, because like you said, it's very confusing.
Now, you mentioned you have supporters for some things that you speak out about, but the left is really quick and really on to you right now. They've been giving you some smacks. You've had it in certain media, and even an MLA right here in Burnaby called you out as being racist. Her name is Katrina Chen. Did you want to respond to that accusation?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Look, I don't know who this MLA is. I've never met her. She's never met me. She doesn't know me. I think her accusations were grossly defamatory. They were completely unbecoming of someone in her position as a cabinet minister, attacking a private citizen with such a disgusting accusation as she did. And why did she do it? Well, because she had no coherent response to what I was saying. So she stood up in the BC legislature, although I guess it was over Zoom, and she accused this province, this country, of being founded on white supremacy. She accused it of being systemically and structurally racist, and that it, basically the police forces, the healthcare system, everything about it was racist. And you want to hold that opinion, that's fine. I said, that's not true. And her response was, you're a racist. So that's the level of dialogue that we've come to expect from the NDP. The problem is, in this province, we haven't had anyone standing up to them, anyone who doesn't just capitulate immediately on every single social and cultural issue. And, we already have 2 woke parties in this province, and I don't think we need a third.
Yeah, as a Black Indigenous woman, the whole we live in a systemically racist country is something I'm not a fan of as well. Myself and many of my family members have found many successes and opportunities here. We've worked hard, and that's what we've gotten. And I really don't want to see a future in Canada where my kids think that just based on the color of their skin, they are set back from trying to achieve something they aspire to have. I want them to believe that they can achieve whatever they want, especially in a country like Canada. So I'm glad you speak out about that. And I also saw in Vancouver is Awesome, they came out and labeled you as a destructive candidate. And they said that people or volunteers within the party are already against you. What's your response to that?
Yeah, look, there's a small group of people, a lot of them are associated with other prospective campaigns that have carved out their little enclaves of power, and they'll do anything they can to protect them. I represent change. That change threatens them, so I understand it. And they're pushing back hard, and they're doing everything they can to prevent my candidacy, to try to block me, to just try to drag me through the mud. But that's okay. Like, I can stand up for myself, and that's what I've been doing. And I'm going to continue to do that.
And so how long do we have to wait until we know if you're going to run?
So I think by the end of the spring, I'll have a final decision, but I am leaning in that direction. There are, people that are going on that are organizing the things that need to be organized for that. But this is an Ironman marathon of a race. Usually these things are 6 months. The vote here isn't until next February. So there's obviously some restrictions on campaigning as well right now. So I think that by the end of the spring, early summer, you'll know for sure.
I think it's kind of a good thing that it's a longer time. I mean, we just went through a snap election during what Horgan says is this huge pandemic, and yet he expected everyone to kind of rush and wrap their heads around who was the best to vote for. So at least people will have more time to consider you and others for the party. Now, it doesn't appear that you're going to back down from the push from the left, which is interesting. But let's talk about your age for a second. You're 31 years old. So what would you say to the people who would hesitate to vote for you just on that reason alone, because they think you're too young of a candidate?
Well, I think they're pointing to experience, and experience is important, but it's also important to have the right kind of experience. Many of the other people running have a lot of baggage, have supported a lot of bad policies in the past, like introducing the first carbon tax in all of North America, like sitting on their hands as affordability got out of control in this city, and money laundering and other associated issues. So what I bring to the table is a fresh perspective, a history of principled advocacy for public policy, whether the Canadian Taxpayers Federation or through my online videos and associated following that I built up. So I think it's about fresh, bold new ideas that aren't encumbered by the baggage and the battles of the past.
And is there anything else that you'd like to add that we should know?
Look, I think it's just really important to start to have a voice to advocate on these important issues. During the last provincial election, the choice was between the NDP and the NDP Light. There was no alternative articulated. There was no one standing up for British Columbians on the issues that matter to them, whether it's affordability, whether it's getting the pipelines and important energy projects built, whether it's reining in the city councils like in Vancouver and Victoria that have gone completely out of control with these tent cities and other issues like this, or whether it's standing up and defunding universities that refuse to protect free speech and free expression, which is a fundamental issue and which should be a red line for every British Columbian and every Canadian.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
In the past month, Rebel News has been censored like never before. It is so important, if you want to be informed on the other side of the story, that you go to our website at rebelnews.com and let us know your email or your phone number so that we have a way of bringing you reports just like this.